Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining us for another indie-friendly conversation. And this is a special one, ladies and gentlemen. I got my brother, my mentor, my teacher, my percussion big bro, Kevin Lee, in the building. Say hello to the people, bro.
What's going down, man? What's going on?
Yes, sir. So as you can see, this is another interview where I have my Jackson State drum head in the back. And as you can see in Kevin's background, he got his TSU Ocean of Soul paraphernalia displayed in his background. So we're going to have a little band talk today, some percussion talk. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you all who are not familiar with my HBCU band background, I marched at Jackson State University, but before I went to college, I marched at James Madison High School in Houston, Texas, under the leadership of Mr. Kevin Lee. So we just gonna reminisce about some old times for y'all, and I hope you all enjoy it. But Kevin, I just want to let the people know, or I want you to let the people know, just a background of how you got started in percussion. Of course, we know you ended up at Texas Southern, but where did it start before that? How early were you introduced to music?
I started with music at a young age. You know, for me, I first joined band in like elementary. So I was like 8 or 9 years old at Hobby Elementary. Matter of fact, I think Madison, the high school, they came and they performed for like the elementary kids. You know, for like, I guess it was just like field day. So they came and perform. And so from there, that kind of sparked my interest in just basically wanting to be in the band and play music. My first instrument was actually trumpet. I didn't play drums at first. I played trumpet. My grandfather was a trumpet player. So I kind of followed in his footsteps, but I still had that itch to play drums. So I played trumpet for 1 year, and then I switched to drums right after that. And then pretty much it just continued on. I grew a love for it from watching my drummer at church named Eric Porter. Went to Brentwood Baptist Church, and so he was the drummer. So I used to just follow him around, and that was pretty much my inspiration, you know, for just wanting to play. And then, you know, just it fostered a whole bunch of stuff. You know, he was the person that gave me my first pair of sticks at, you know, 8 or 9 years old. You know, I used to follow, I used to walk up to him after church and you know, just wanted to meet him, wanted to talk to him. And one day I just got the courage to say, can I have some sticks? And, you know, he reached in his little stick bag, he gave me a pair of sticks, and the rest is history, you know. And so from there, I went from middle school, went to Welch Middle School. I played 3 years at Welch, then went on to Madison, marched at Madison when I graduated, went on to Texas Southern. And now after I marched, was began teaching, being a drum instructor around the Houston area. And so I continue doing that to today.
Yeah, so you mentioned Eric Porter. He's a well-known drummer in the city of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the chance to see him on several occasions around different venues in Houston. So that's interesting to know that you got your start from him. So let's go to Madison. So you came from Welch. I'm shocked you didn't say Dowling or what's that other school? I can't think of that other middle
Percussion.
school. Which one?
Percussion.
Something like yes. Yeah, Johnson.
I actually well, I grew up in Harlem. I went to when I got ready to go to middle school, we moved to the Southwest. And so that's how I ended up going to Welch. And so, but you know, even at elementary, I was like, nah, I'm going to Madison. Because matter of fact, because Welch was zoned to Westbury. And you know, Westbury wasn't the powerhouse that they are today. It was a little bit different back then. So I was like, nah, I'm going to Madison. So I pretty much went to Madison on a kind of a magnet transfer.
Oh, got you. Okay, so you started off on trumpet, You did that for what you say, a year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so by the time you get to Madison, how do you get started with the band? Did you get in the beginning band, or like how did you just show up to rehearsal? What did you do?
Now, actually, like I said, since I started in elementary, when I went to Welch, you know, I talked to the band director. I told her, I said, hey, ma'am, I already have 3 years worth of playing. And, you know, she kind of had me come out to school and she had me audition. And then they bumped me up right at 6th grade, because normally 6th grade, you start in the beginning band, but I had already been playing for like 3 years. So they moved me up right when I got in 6th grade at middle school. And when I got to Madison, I had been pretty much around the drumline scene already, because my sister was she was a flag girl. She was on the flag squad. So when my sister would go to the games, I would go right there with her. So pretty much I pretty much knew most of the guys that was marching at Madison at the time. And so I was kind of like the little brother, you know. And so from there, by the time I got ready to actually go to Madison, I was kind of already like grandfathered in. I already knew the cadences, I already knew the drummers, they knew me. It was just basically, all right, now he's actually playing with us.
Yeah, so were you on snare drum in middle school?
In middle school, I actually bounced around because I was experimenting with so much, because that was my first taste of marching band. Because like we did go to like the football games, we did do some parades in middle school. So like my 6th grade year, I did snare drum, and my 7th grade year, I was fascinated by well, at the time, Madison had what they call tritoms. So I was fascinated by that. So we had some, not the actual tritoms, we had like some rototoms, and I kind of like rigged them up. And so I used to kind of march with them. And that was my first experience with playing like multi-tenors or just tritoms. And then my 8th grade year, for some reason I played bass drum. I wanted to play bass drums for some reason, you know. So I played bass drum. And then when I got ready to go to high school, I was like, I'm gonna go to high school and I was gonna play quints. But when I got to high school, I was 4'11". So I was short. I was just, 4'11". And I remember my first day at band camp, I went there and I told them I wanted to play quints. And they put the harness on me, and the harness damn near came to my knees. And so then when they put the drums on me, like instantly I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna be able to do this, because I was too short. My body, my statue was too short to handle this. And this is back when drums was made out of solid wood. So you had to have a strong back to play drums back in the day. So then I ended up, my 9th grade year, I actually ended up playing tenor. I played tenor. And then my 10th grade year on up, I switched over to snare. And then pretty much the rest is history. So that's kind of like why I kind of have a good foundation as far as with all the instruments, as far as with, for one, drumline. At the same time, I was playing drum set as well. So all of that kind of just mixed in together and just, created a percussionist, a full percussionist.
Got you. And that helps when you have experience with other drums, because if you're only a snare player, then you wouldn't have the ability to understand the other drums when you write cadences or writing parts for songs and stuff like that. And that makes sense, because ever since I've known you, you've always been able to direct the other drums as well, and not just, tell people what they needed to do on snare drum. Mm-hmm. So, and I knew you played tenor starting off in 9th grade. So when you decided to play snare, to transition to snare, what was that like? Because if we're talking about Madison, that was back in what, like 98, 99 or something. Mm-hmm. Like that. So they had some dogs over there on them drums at that time. So like, what was that transition like with the upperclassmen that was already on there?
When I like I say, when I got in 9th grade, I was still like, that was my first year going to solo and ensemble. So in ninth grade, and pretty much I was like, okay, I can pretty much do this. I played Stomping Through the Bar Line. That's out of the John Pratt book. And so I played that my ninth grade, and I think I got a 2+, because like I said, I didn't play snare. I was going and playing a snare solo. And so I was like, okay, I kind of like this. So then that spring, I started kind of just, like I said, I could read. So I just sat down, opened up a rudiment book, and I just learned my rudiments. And then prior to my transition into that fall, when I came back my 10th grade year, it was an easy transition to kind of I was able to keep up because I knew my rudiments. And then also I was I had a strong foundation in reading. So, and all that kind of helped me, pretty much like you said, hang with the big dogs that was there at the time.
Yeah. So who was the section leader when you were in the 9th and the 10th grade?
My 9th grade, it was a guy named DeAnthony Hall and Patrick Baptiste. Okay. And then my sophomore year, it was a guy named Jeremy Taylor. And gotcha. So, and then after that, I became
all them names. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, all them names. I'm familiar with them. Yeah. So then you moved to your junior year. So your junior year, because you graduated in 2002, your junior year is when I first got in the band. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was on tenor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was able to see, what was going on. This was my first experience really in a real marching band. I did some stuff in elementary school and stuff like that, but like in a real marching band where you have a drum section, it was an experience like none other, because we had some characters in that section, man. We had some characters, man, and but I always remember how studious you were and how serious you were about not just you being at the top of your musicianship, but you would always be on the line about what we needed to do. And even when we were small in numbers, you always made sure that we still took it seriously, that we were still on point. We was doing drum features and everything, man, on the field. I remember for Halloween, we had our masks and all of that, man. It was live. You put that together, so I just want to say appreciate you for that and for, I guess, bathing me right on in there. Even though I was on tenor, I still learned a lot that year. So your junior year, you on snare, your senior year, you on snare. So now college is coming around. Did you always know that you wanted to play in a college band?
Oh yeah. I grew up. Well, like I said, my dad, my mom both went to TSU, so I was always around TSU. I used to always go to the class. I used to always go to the Labor Day Classic. I used to go to a lot of the basketball games. So I was always around TSU. I knew at a young age, I knew the entire campus, like back of my hand. So when I got ready, well, let me backtrack. I say around the time my 9th grade year, our drum instructor was Skip from PV, Skip Wilson. So I think we was getting ready for a Battle of the Bands in my 9th grade year. And they was like, yes, Texas Southern's gonna be there and PV was gonna be there. And they was like, PV was known for the box. And so I'm like, okay. And it was a guy from Madison that marched at PV named Joseph Alexander. And so, they were just telling us we was getting ready for the Battle of the Bands. They was like, hey man, we gotta make sure, we do good because, Joe gonna be watching us because PV was gonna be there. And so I always heard, people talk about, the box. So I was like, okay. So my first eyesight on the box was my 9th grade year. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that's them. That's okay. They're the ones that do the feature and do all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, so that's that's the guys that I've been hearing all about and stuff. But like I said, I've been watching TSU for years. And so I'm like, okay, so that's TSU. Okay, that's the box. Okay, cool. So now I got a reference for the most part. And so you know, and of course, like I say, the culture in Texas, especially, you know, in Texas was pretty much either you was gonna go to TSU or you was gonna go to PV, but majority of everybody was going to PV. If you considered yourself tip top on your drum or your instrument, you went to PV, you went to the box. You know, nobody, it was TSU was kind of off in the shadows a little bit, you know, around that time, because everything was the box was, they were the rock stars. They were the rock stars back then. So it was, and so by the time, you know, and pretty much that was the big decision. That was like the big decision every drummer made coming out of high school. You know, it was almost kind of like, you know, like draft day, like, okay, where you going? Where you going? And so everybody had that big decision, you know, either you gonna go to TSU or you gonna go to the box. But like I say, the major shift was you went to the box, you know, because like I say, because of all the things they were doing, you know, with the feature and all that stuff. So that was the highlight, you know.
So what made you say, okay, I'm not going to the box, I'm not going to PV. TSU is for sure where I need to be. What about TSU's band or their drum section that solidified it for you?
What solidified it for me was because I pretty much was good enough to make either or. So what it came down to, and it actually, my mom kind of helped me make that decision, because you know, I knew guys that was at PV, I knew guys that was at TSU. So it was, you know, of course, and they talking to me, they like, man, where you coming? You coming here? You coming up? And so it was really 50-50. But where it kind of got down to like the stamp on it, what it came down to academics. It was basically there was a scholarship program that I was in my freshman year in college, but that they offered, and it was paying like $20,000, and it was offered at a lot of schools in Texas, but it wasn't offered at PV. So I was like, well, you know, and like I say, a lot of times, that's why I tell my students today, you know, when they getting ready to make their decision, I always tell them, you know, go where you're gonna get the most money, because like, I understand you're paying for school, you know what I'm saying? So like, if you don't have enough financial aid, you ain't got enough scholarships to pay for school, you know, you're gonna be coming out of pocket. So when it really came down to just basically my academic scholarship. So I had the grades. I graduated with a 3.2, you know. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't that I wasn't smart enough to get in PV or nothing like that. It just came down to based on my my major, because I was a math major when I entered college. I was a math major. So the scholarship program that was giving me the bulk of my money had me go to TSU.
Okay. So of course, you weren't just gonna do only academics at TSU.
Mm-hmm.
You were definitely gonna be in the band.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I wouldn't expect you to just do marching band, but of course, concert band and other ensembles that that the university will have. But you switched your major, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, so I kind of can already guess why you switched it, you know, just out of your passion for music. But what made you say, okay, well, let me just go ahead and make that switch and focus really on music now?
Yeah, basically, you know, is you know, when you're a math major, you know, damn near half your schedule is math classes. So you know, so you got these labs, you gotta go see this professor and all like that. And you know, like I say, I could do the work, but like I say, deep down, you know, that's not your passion. You know, I mean, I can do multiplication, add and subtracting all day, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I want to be an accountant or be a finance person. I didn't know. You know, so my biggest thing was music. Like you know, that's all I thought about 24/7 was music. So it just came down to like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just make that switch. And so by then, you know, like I said, my band scholarship had increased because I was in concert band. I had got into jazz band, all that stuff. So pretty much by then, my my music scholarship kind of filled a little bit more to my tuition, as far as making sure that I was able to pay for school and all like that, pay for my room and board and all like that. So that's where, you know, you get into those orchestra classes, those different ensembles that offer those scholarships. And when you get all of that and you add it up, you got a healthy scholarship.
Right. And that's something that I wish more students would take into consideration, because of course, marching band is fun. That's the most visible thing that you see coming from HBCUs as far as music is concerned. But there are other ensembles that you can get in, that you can learn from, and that you can get paid to be a part of, such as when I was at Jackson State, I was in the symphonic and wind ensemble as well. So, and then you got the jazz band. You got all type of stuff, all type of ensembles that you can get in and be a well-rounded musician from participating in. But a lot of students, they see that marching band and they want to dance and, do all of that kind of, and that's fun. But I really think that to be a well-rounded musician, you have to challenge yourself to play different styles of music and different ensembles, hearing different, sounds and tones and, approaches to music. So that's good that you took advantage of that and not just focused on marching band, just so that you could be a well-rounded musician. But now let's get to this drum talk, man. So, of course, you did it better than most when it comes to marching band and particularly on that snare drum, man. So you come in your freshman year at TSU. Describe what it's like. You at band camp, you walking in, do you know people? Do people recognize you? Like, what's the atmosphere like at band camp?
Yeah, when I came in at band camp, first we started, we used to do, at Texas, we used to do what we call like a Houston camp. And it was basically all the seniors that's graduating that's in Houston would come up to TSU and we would practice, just kind of get like an early start. And so I was doing that, and same thing, guys knew me. They knew, okay, I was the bright dude from Madison. They know my name, but they just call me the bright dude from Madison. That was my name. So pretty much I'm just coming in. I already know what was about to happen. I already know my role as a crab. That transition I'm going from being a section leader in high school to a crab. So that was, I already understood what I was about to go through for the most part. So just coming in, I'm just like, okay, I'm just coming in ready to learn. And by the time the rest of my crabbers, the out of town guys came in, it's like, okay, hey, we all here. All right, who are you? You get to know everybody. And the typical thing, you meet all your crab boys, y'all trying to see who the big dog them first couple of days. So you out here, you challenging this dude from Louisiana. Okay, this dude from Dallas. Okay, let's challenge. Let's see who the champ is for the most part. But coming in, just basically, the structure was there. I will say that the structure of the section was there. My section leader was Tamika Lee. Tamika Lee. She did a thing. I will say that. She ran the train the way it needed to be ran. A lot of times people take that for granted, like, oh man, she's a female, but she's tough. I will say that she's tough. So, but coming in, like I said, I didn't necessarily buck the system. Sometimes, you always get that one Nick Cannon type person that just comes in and just say, hey, I ain't finna do nothing. I'm finna do this. And, that wasn't me. I was just like, hey, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna earn my stripes, make the line. My biggest thing was to make the line, because definitely like in Houston is, with the classic, the Labor Day Classic, PV versus TSU, that's like, the big the big performance for us, you know, seeing that everybody coming to the class, everybody looking, okay, oh, there go Kevin, he's marching that TSU, oh, that's such, he's marching that PV. That's the big thing, because all your homeboys from high school, they're coming to the game to see you strapped up and marching. So, you know, but like I say, it's just basically coming in, getting ready to work and do it, you know, for the most part. You know, from on my end, I was just like, okay, hey, I'm ready to go, you know.
Yeah. So who are some of the people that you came in with?
To my Crab Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a two-part question, man, because you know is you got the Crab Brothers you started with, and you got the Crab Brothers you ended with. So
oh man, yeah.
You know, every crab class they start, you got like 30, and then you know, little by little they just start dropping like flies, you know. But on snare, it was me and my Crab brother Mike from Dallas. On tenor, we had Crab brother named Gregory Brockett from Westbury, and then we had another guy named Travion from Dallas. Cymbals, I had a Crab brother from Monroe, Louisiana, Marquez. Then Quince, oh my God, it was so many of them. It was like, I think it was about like 6 or 7 of them. You know, it was I had got a Crab brother named Reggie from Willow Ridge, Crab brother named Mike from Yates, another Crab brother named Bernard from Yates. I had a Crab brother, we called him Ike, but his real name is it's a little tricky to say, but we always called him Ike. He was from he marched at Worthing down here. I had another Crab brother we called him Memphis. I think he went to if I say the school name wrong, please forgive me. I think it was Melrose.
Yes, school called Melrose down.
Okay, so I think he was from his name was Marcus Patterson, but we called him Memphis pretty much. And then I think bass drums, we had a guy from Dallas named Cecil Smith, and then we had another, my last Crab brother, we called him, his name is Brian White, but his crab name was Fat Freak.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
So, you know, it's you know, once you get those crab names that stick, it pretty much, that's what everybody call you.
Yeah. So you get your freshman year out the way. Mm-hmm. So now you funk training now. So what is it like coming back that sophomore year? Do your responsibilities increase? Do you have more input in the section, or are you still just kind
of going into my sophomore year? Was kind of let me back up. The summer before my sophomore year, I had the pleasure to work alongside Renford Joseph for we have a high school camp that we do in the summer. So I worked alongside him with that, and me and him just had a talk. We were just talking, and I remember he asked me, he was like, "Hey man, what you gonna do this year?" You know, same thing like you asked me, "What you gonna do this year?" And my thing was, what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of beef up some of the stuff we was doing, you know, kind of get some material out there. Definitely to kind of definitely draw in more get some more talented individuals in there, and definitely just kind of, you know, like I say, increase the plan for the most part. So me and him talked about some things, because like I say, he marched from 97 to 2000. And so, you know, and I mean, if anybody from TSU, you already know TSU was not thick on numbers in those years. They was always, you know, there wasn't a huge section back in those days. Again, because like I say, because everybody was going to PV, everybody was going to the box. So, you know, TSU didn't really have the numbers, you know, as what, you know, TSU probably had maybe 4 snares, probably 4 tenors, 4 basses. You know, it was really kind of on the small end. And so definitely around 2000, that's when you started seeing the numbers kind of increase, increase for TSU. But definitely when I got there, I wanted to just kind of, increase the plan and bring some newness to the forefront. And like I say, with me and Ren talking, he was like, yeah, do it, do it. He was like, if you can come up with something, do it. So for me, that was just the spark. So I just instantly just started going to, bullshit, making up parts, making up, up new parts and stuff like that. And just bringing them to the table, just say, hey, y'all, let's try this. Hey, on this case, let's try this. Hey, on this case, let's try that. And, and for the most part, they was down for it. They were willing to learn. They was willing to upgrade and move on. So like, okay, cool. So we pretty much from then, we kind of started increasing, the material, increasing the intensity of what we was playing, most part. So, and that was just basically the start of it, and that, like I said, that's my second year in the drum. I wasn't section leader. It was still, I was assistant section leader, but I wasn't section leader. So, and just basically, I was behind the scenes, for the most part. I was just behind the scenes. I would bring something, I'd say, hey, let's try this. And we would put it in there. If it sounded good, if it matched what we got going, it stuck.
Yeah. So what was the first cadence that you brought?
The first cadence that I brought was, it was called 3 a.m. It was called 3 a.m.
Do they still play that today?
Oh yeah. I know it's kind of, I'm bad on naming cadences. I would pick the most basic name out there. So it was 3 a.m. because we made it up at 3 a.m. basically. Well, actually what happened was our drum instructor at the time, Mr. Garnett Foster, who's, I think he's from Jackson, Mississippi. I think he is from Jackson, Mississippi. Garnett Foster. And it was, matter of fact, in 03, it was right after the J-State game in 03. And we had some, we had a couple of weeks until our next, I want to say next band we was going to see. So we had some downtime. And so I remember he told me, he was like, hey, Kevin, I need a cadence from you. And I was like, okay. So I brought it in there. Like I said, I got my crab brothers together. We learned it and we presented it. We taught it to the section, and the rest was history. And that was, and that cadence was, I consider that like the, that's kind of the start of the new stuff for the most part. It was, because like I say, it had, some flashes in there, some stick-ins and stuff like that. It was different. It was different from what was already in the book. Back in the day, everybody was traditional. Every section was traditional. You know what I'm saying? It was just, you had your set cadences that you learned, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter what school you went to. It was, you had traditional cadences that you would play year in, year out, and from there, it was just like, okay, the cadence I wanted to bring, I wanted to be something that was different, to kind of be like, okay, that cadence stands out.
After you brought 3 a.m., did that encourage, did that, I guess, spark creativity in other section members to say, okay, well, maybe I can contribute something as well, and
actually, because like I say, with that cadence, I kind of reached out to different people to kind of add something to it. Like I know my crab year, me and my crab brother on Quince from Memphis, man, Marcus Patterson, me and him we was real close, because he coming from Memphis, he knew a lot of choppy stuff. He could play some chops and stuff like that. And so me and him would trade stuff. So like he'll show me something, and I would like tell him like, oh, that's this rudiment. Or he was hear me play something, he would say, what's that? And I'll teach it to him, and then he'll find a way to put it on the Quince. So that's how me and him used to go back and forth and stuff like that. And so when we got ready to create that cadence, I was like, Memphis, I need something. And, you know, he put it on there, and, you know, and like I say, if it was just basically just, that was the case, that like, okay, hey, we're going to put all the new stuff in it. We're going to put all the new seasonings in this little package right here. And so, you know, when we, you know, and like I say, it stands out. When you hear it, you know it. You know that's 3 a.m. right there. So
yeah. So now you're moving into your junior year. So how did you become section leader? What's the process? Because you were section leader your junior year, right? For 2 years, your junior and senior year.
Yes.
So what did you have to do to become section leader? Is it a consensus with the members of the section? Did you have to audition, or like what's
well, our process was basically you put your, like, kind of like you submit an interest letter and say that you're interested in it, and you know, usually they do like a little interview, and they kind, you know, the band, they kind of look at your, you know, look at how were you with the band? Were you a troublemaker, or were you a person that was productive in the band program? And then from there, they pick you, they let you know, hey, these are the section leaders for next year. And so then you just pretty much go on from there.
Yeah. So what did it feel like to be chosen when they called your name?
It was good. It was good. You know, I mean, of course, like, you know, with any section, you know, everybody knows who's going to be the next section. You already know who's going to be the next person. So for the section, it really wasn't a surprise, because they already knew. They were like, okay, hey, you know, because I mean, people are, you know, this is their 4th year. They pretty much, okay, it's going to be their last year marching. So you already know who's going to be the next. Cause I think I was the next oldest person in the section. So it was almost like, okay, yeah, we already know it's going to him. So, but even still, but just to know officially I got the section is a good feeling, you know, and definitely, you know, being able to, okay, we're finna kind of capitalize on with that, and not to take away from my sidekick at the time, but was Kenny Hughes. He, like I say, he's a highly notable person from Houston as far as the drum scene. You know, everybody in Houston knows Kenny Hughes. You know, me and him kind of mirrored each other, because he was the same way. He did drum set, he did marching, he did it all. Because a lot of times me and him would run into each other in high school at solo and ensemble. We run into each other at the jazz, you know, the jazz competitions and stuff like that. So it was like, it was two peas in the pod. And he came in 2003. He came in 2003 and kind of.
And I'm glad you mentioned Kenny, man, because Kenny is an absolute legend, man. I mean, when you say his name, whether it's, you know, marching, percussion, or drum set, and I've had the chance to do some things with him on stage, you know, with my music and stuff while he's been on drum set. But talk about him for a second, because like you said earlier, you had to recruit now. Mm-hmm. You had a mind to recruit, and Kenny could have went anywhere he wanted to go. Mm-hmm. But talk about how you kind of went on that recruiting mission to get the best talent in Houston to come to LSU.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, my freshman year was I was from Houston. I was still in the scene, in the scene, you know, like I say, going to the drum competitions, going to the Battle of the Bands and stuff like that. And so, you know, definitely, you know, by then, you know, I've already finished my crab year. And so, you know, I'm going back. I got my Ocean to Shoulder shirt on. And so, you know, of course, representing the home team. And so, you know, meeting, you know, kind of started talking to some of the guys and kind of, like I say, just kind of gauging, like, hey, man, you know, you can play pretty good. You know, hey, we can use you at TSU, you know. And so, you know, I'm pretty much doing that, just basically going around and just showing my face and just, you know, just kind of letting people know, you know, like, oh, you know, hey, I'm over here. You can come on with me. You know, and it's kind of like, you know, you just basically introducing yourself and just kind of just putting that buzz in their ear, because like I said, the the culture was, you know, everybody's first choice was to go to PV. It was just that was everybody's first choice. So my thing is, I'm coming in there like, you know, look, I made the switch. You can make the switch. Come on, you know. And so with that, it kind of slowly took off like that. So.
And I'm talking about y'all had some all-stars, especially on that snare line, man. Top talent from music. And, you know, I look up, especially that line y'all had in 04. I mean, from end to end, like y'all was stacked, man. I mean, that section y'all had in 04 was live, bro. And
that section was pretty much was majority of that section was basically the same section from 03. Like, you know, it wasn't that many crabs on that line, because it was like everybody that was in the section in 03 came back that next year. So we only, like I think on the snare line, I think we only had like one spot open. We had nine old heads, and I think we had one crab on that line. So it was like, you know, it was that line we played together already. And so it was, and that was it. And then and even on that line, it's a lot of like talented, like I said, we had and guys from different backgrounds. That was the thing about it. Like we had guys from we had one guy, he came from a core band his name was Melvin. And when he got to teach, that was his first time doing show style, but he could play. Like, I mean, he was in the cookbook, and the kitchen sink, played it by memory, you know? And so it was just like, all we had to do with him was just basically teach him, okay, this is how we do it. We had another person that's often missed is a young lady named Ariel Jones. She's from Willow Ridge. And, you know, she could play her butt off. She could play her butt, and she was short, you know, she was little bitty thing, but she could play. And so, you know, with her coming in, along with Kenny, along with, like I say, Melvin, I just described, and it kind of grew, and they pretty much branched out to their other Crab brothers and got their other Crab brothers on board. And like I say, you know, just basically saying, okay, hey, this is what we play. This is how we play. Catch on, let's roll. And so pretty much that whole section, 03 was a huge section that year. I think we had 10 snares, 6 quints. I think we had like 8 tenors, 8 basses.
And 03 was that year that the Drumline movie had just come out.
And that's exactly right. And I credit that movie, because I remember that. I mean, because matter of fact, it was at one point we had 13 basses in 03. We had 13. And I think when we went to the PV game, I think we had 11. And it was like, because like I say, everybody, I credit the movie because the movie made everybody want to go to college, want to go be in a band. So everybody's band like damn near doubled that next year, that fall of 03, you know, because everybody, you know. And I remember that was my little saying when guys would come in, I say, look, this ain't drumline, so get your mind right. You know what I'm saying? So, but I will say, you know, now, you know, it's years later, you know, I will say the movie did serve its purpose as far as inspiring young musicians, not just drummers, but just musicians, horn players, everybody to go and march in college. And so, you know, and you saw that everybody's band pretty much blew up that year, especially that fall season, that fall 03, everybody's band blew up.
Everybody's band blew up. Like, man, it was so crazy that movie, I mean, in that movie, what can I say about it, bro? It was a great movie, but like everybody felt like they could now at least have a shot to be in the band. And especially on the drum line. Like, we didn't even used to call the drum section a drum line. We used to say that's the drum section. Now we call it a drum line. Like, we wasn't even saying that at first.
Right.
So like the influence of that movie, man, it really helped to grow the numbers and grow the interest in HBCU bands. So yeah, so you were right there in the thick of things. So 03 was a big year for y'all, but then 04, so you get more talent, more top tier talent coming to the drum section in 04. Who did you have coming in that was a freshman in 04? I know for sure Baca and
cymbal line. We had a good crab cymbal line that came in. You know, some of the best cymbal players out of Houston came that year. And you know, like I say, what I credit that line for was we started out with 8. We had 6 crabs, 2 old heads, and then eventually it became just the crabs because the old heads they ended up leaving early. So that cymbal line in 04 was an all crab cymbal line, and you know, led by the other Kevin Lee 2. You know, in case a lot of people don't know, it's a Kevin Lee 1 and there's a Kevin Lee 2. We both had the exact same name. Our middle names is different. We both went to Madison. We both went to TSU. One played snare, one played cymbals. So
both y'all short, light skinned.
Yeah. So but like I say, they came in and they pretty much, you know, they pretty much followed suit and they made it their own. I did give them, you know, that opportunity to just say, hey, I know y'all by yourself. I know y'all don't have a old head leading y'all, so you know, make do. And so like they pretty much created their own style, the AAX style. They pretty much made their own style that, you know, that's still prevalent to today. And so you know, like I said, that was just like I said, just basically giving them the power to kind of, you know, set, you know, kind of learn what we do, but at the same time kind of set their own path as far as being a cymbal line on their own. So with that 04 class, again, same thing. We started to get guys from Willow Ridge. We started getting guys from Yates. We got some guys from Yates. We got some other people from Louisiana. But like I said, it was, you know, the hard part for them as a crack class was that y'all all competing for one spot on each, almost on every line. So it was like they had to come in and just basically keep up, like come in running full speed. Because like I say, we had 10 snares, 9 old heads. So, you know, that one crab that we had on the line, it was like, you know, if something was wrong, we already knew who it was. You know, and same thing, you know, throughout the rest of the section. So it was pretty much, I mean, like I say, we drilled for the most part. And part of that's because for us, for TSU, our one of our biggest rivalry is the first game of the year. So band camp is always full steam ahead, you know.
Right. And I mean, y'all was full steam ahead. So, all right. So now you got your section. You the section leader. 04. Y'all played Prairie View for y'all first game. And then lo and behold, you run into your student at Jackson State. Bro, this is crazy. But we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
You run into Jackson State in Shreveport, man. In Shreveport. But well, let me back up though. Because let's talk about this. So of course you were training me at Madison when you finally started to take me seriously. Because you wasn't even messing with me at first, man. So you know I was kind of salty about that, but it's all good. But what was it?
For you? It was. I think I wanted you to stay on tenor. I think that's what it was that I wanted you to stay on tenor, but you were so adamant about switching the snare. And I was like, nah, man, you need to stay on tenor. But you were so adamant about switching the snare. So I was like, okay. So when you made the switch, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get you right. I'm gonna get you right for the most part and stuff. But you know, and like I said, it was just, and they even, like I said, I tried my hardest to recruit you for Texas Southern. I tried my hardest to recruit you for Texas Southern, but she was like, I'm going to J State, and I was, you know, crushed. I was crushed. I was highly crushed. But I mean, I was glad because you was going to school. You went to higher education. You want to go do something. You know, because a lot of people, they graduate and they don't do nothing. They let that talent waste. But you know, that's the fact that you still, you know, okay, you're gonna take it to Mississippi, but just, hey, my biggest thing was make the line. My biggest thing was make the line. But yeah, it was that was how it was. And like I say, the 04 battle in Shreveport, that's just, yeah.
Hey man, look. Well, the reason why, cause see, of course, you were grooming me and getting me ready, and of course, I knew TSU was an option. PV, TSU, so all of these schools in my mind were like, okay, if I choose to go there, I could probably get in, at least academically. I could get in. Now, the main reason why I didn't want to go to TSU in the end is because really I just wanted to get away. I wanted to do something different. Mm-hmm. And most people, of course, like you stated earlier, either going to TSU or PV. And something in my mind was just like, man, you need to get away. And see, keep in mind, that was around the time my mom had just passed away. So like, I felt like I needed to do something like monumental, like do something like out of the ordinary just to make her proud. And I'm like, man, well, if I go to TSU, of course I'm gonna know people, but I done already met them people before. You know what I'm saying? I already know what I'm gonna get when I get there. I know the people because they the same people who I went to middle school, high school with, and I just wanted to meet new people, have a new experience. So like when you say you was crushed, man, you putting it lightly. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you was pissed off. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling you, bro. I remember telling you, bro, and you was like, man, what? You going to Jackson? I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm going to Jackson. You're like, why? Why you going there, man? Like, why you going there, man? What? Hold on, man. You ain't gonna learn nothing. You ain't gonna have no money. Man, what you going there for? I'm like, man, I just want to do something different, man. You know what I'm saying?
But it was part of my plan. It was really part of my plan. It was like, cause you know, I recruited Kenny, you know, so, the other people, you know, like Ariel, all them ones I spoke about earlier, the 03 class, they came in, and I'm like, okay, I'm finna keep this ball rolling. So I'm like, okay, here come the 04 class. I say, you got you coming out of here, coming out of Madison. You got, I think at the time it was a guy named Harold Lewis coming out of Yates, and of course the juggernaut was Clifton Love coming out of Smiley. And you know, I already knew he was going to PV. I already knew he was going there. So I was like, I know I ain't gonna be able to persuade him. But definitely I was trying to get, you know, the other guys to say, hey man, look, you know, but I know Harold ended up going to PV, Cliff went to PV, and I was like, okay, let me see if I can get Cedric. Let me get Cedric. But Cedric is like, nah, I'm going to Jackson. I'm like, oh man. So, and I mean, and it's like, I mean, and it's you know, it's just, you gotta make.
I will credit you because after it sunk in, after you accepted it, you know, a few, it may was like a week later or something, you called me. You was like, what's up, man? What you doing, man? I'm like, oh man, I'm just at the house chilling, man. You're like, all right, well, I'm about to come through, man. We need to go ahead and chop it up, man. Mm-hmm. Run a little bit, because when you go down there, you need to be ready.
Yeah.
You know what And that, I'm telling you, bro, that meant the world to me because I'm like, oh man, this man ain't finna talk to me no more, dog.
Yeah.
Like, cause how upset you was, but which now that you said, like, you know, in your mind that was the plan, and it just kind of like, you know, altered the plan. But the fact that you still was like, I got you. I just want you to do well regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And that summer we was chopping, you know what I'm saying? And you better believe when I went down there, I was ready. I was ready for sure. So that's why, all right, so now we got that out the way. And so it felt like, man, that battle, bro, that battle in Shreveport, the way I was looking at it, it was like, all right, so now I'm seeing my mentor, my teacher across from me, you know what I'm saying? And it's going down right here, bro. Like, first of all, I asked you this the other day. You say y'all didn't know about a drumline battle that was gonna be in the middle of the field. Y'all didn't know about it. We definitely didn't know about it. And we were not prepared, bro. Like, the freshmen at that point was just getting series down good. It takes so long to learn series. And to be honest, I didn't even think I was gonna be able to march at that Battle of the Bands. We hadn't had a first game yet, nothing. I was still trying to get series down. And then when y'all boys marched in, y'all was ready, man. Y'all was ready, fresh off the PV game. Bro, talk about that Battle of the Bands. We're coming out of the Labor Day Classic, going into that Battle of the Bands. What was in your mind when you found out, man, we about to go up against Jackson State drummers?
Man, so like I said, we went through band camp. The first game is Labor Day Classic, us and PV. And you know, I'm on, you know, I'm like, man, hey, this is my first year. I'm trying to get at them. I'm going hard, you know, against people. That's PV, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to prove a point. I'm basically trying to prove a point. And so at the end of the day, you know, the game was over with. You know, we go home. They're like, all right, hey, you know, be back in the morning for Shreveport. So I'm like, okay, cool. Game is over. You know, we get on the bus. We get down to Shreveport. They're like, okay, Jackson's gonna be. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get to see my boy. I'm gonna get to see my boy. So we go out there. We do our little field show, and then y'all come in. I'm like, okay, they come in. I already know y'all can play Get Ready. Y'all going to series, all that jungle beat, all that. Okay, I'm this. So while y'all march in front of us, I'm really looking for you. I'm like, where is he at? I'm looking, okay, where is he at? Where is he at? So I see you, and then I see there's some other people that went to Jackson from Madison. So I'm looking for them, like, okay, let me see them. So boom, y'all do your little field show and everything. Y'all play Secret Garden, y'all in there grooving on Secret Garden and all that. So I'm chilling. And so I remember Mr. D, he come up to me, he was like, hey, we gotta do an exhibition against Jackson. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we gotta do an exhibition. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yep. So it was like, all right, well, I go tell the section, I'm like, hey, we about to go out there. And so we get ready, we go out there, and I'm gonna be honest, that I think y'all first cadence that y'all play, I think it was like a solo cadence. And like y'all was running them solos, and I was like, ooh, because them things was fat. Them solos was fat, and I was like, man, we gonna have to punch these dudes real hard. So I think I remember the first game it was 3 a.m. We played 3 a.m. because that was my little haymaker. So I'm like, hey, I look back, 3 a.m. So we counted that thing off, and they hit it. I was like, yeah. And then it was like, and then y'all started playing some stuff, and I was just like, oh snap. And it just, y'all wasn't answering what we was playing. So I was just like, ooh, it's gonna be a long day because we got our book. So it was just like, all right, well, it's one of them, well, Sorry for you.
What was the next cadence
finna-
y'all played after 3 a.m.? What was the next one you called up?
I can't remember. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was Stand Jam or it was. That's the one we started with the quiz. I don't know if it was that or I don't know if it was another. I don't know if we played another Choppy K. I don't know, but I know I was running the book.
Do you remember playing the cadence that you ITA? Was that a part of your repertoire?
ITA came in 05. We played ITA in 05.
Oh, okay.
So I want either it may have been Uproar. That's another cadence that I wrote in 04 was Uproar. And I can't remember, but I know we was like I said, we have to get ready for PV. So you know what I'm saying? So we already on 10 because we got to go against PV the first game. So it was like when we seen y'all, it was like, all right, we full steam ahead. And it just
hey bro, look, man, y'all boys.
I didn't mean for it to be I mean, like I say, I think it was like the interview with Reese, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you like y'all was marching off, and I was like, "Hey, y'all come back here, take his hand." I'm sorry.
You know who was really mad? My section leader Willie, because we always would talk about that. He was like, "No, come take this ass whooping like a man."
But see, like I say, my adrenaline gets running,
and man. Say, man, that first when I seen y'all, I'm looking at all my partners, man, and it was surreal to me because my first mind was like, man, I hope when I march in this thing, I can remember all the series, man. That was my biggest thing. I was like, if I can march in and out of here without messing up series, I'm good. But then when we find out that we finna meet in the middle of the field and go against y'all in a drum battle, I'm like, oh man, I'm finna see all my partners, man. And then I see you, I see Baca, I see Kenny, the whole H-Town is in the building, bro. And I'm standing there like, okay, these boys. And then when y'all started playing, I'm like, oh man. Which I knew y'all was gonna bring, because I already know who over there. You know what I'm saying? So y'all brought it, man. And the uniformity was good, and on y'all line, the sound, all of that. And then with you being section leader, I knew y'all was gonna bring it. So it was one of them things, bro. It was one of them hits that we had to take as WT back then. That L that we took really sparked change to where new material was created, to where we was never gonna get caught in that predicament again. So it was almost like we needed that wake-up call. And you better believe TSU that night, that was y'all night, man. That was y'all night. And that's a story that we talk about, you know, quite frequently when we get together, because that's the moment where me and my crab brothers in the class of 03, that's when we just made up our mind, like, all right, we're gonna have to update our repertoire so that we can now be on a level where when we play something, we actually can be up to par as far as the level of skill that it takes. You know, we wanted more complex stuff. Now, what we did have was the uniformity. We was always gonna look together, sound together, play together, but we were very traditional still. Back in 2004, bro. We were very traditional, and it's crazy how it happened, because listening to you had just been a part of the change at TSU, you know, kind of helping to modernize y'all section. And then the fact that I'm from Houston, went to J-State, and now I'm a part of that same process that you was just a part of a few years before. I mean, bro, you couldn't write a better story than that, man. I mean, you really couldn't. But let's talk about this one. And I don't care what you finna say right now, man, because we seen y'all again, man. I don't want to hear nothing, man. Yes, sir. So we talked about that the whole season, man. Well, yeah, the whole season. And the next year was 05. 05. All right, so now me and my crab brothers, we brought some new material. We brought this cadence called E9. We had JDO. And it was a collaborative effort, bro. Like my CB Reese, he had this snare part he was playing in his room. I'm like, okay. Shoot, I start beating on the bed. I put the bass drum part to it and the tenor drum part. Then my CBB came in. He put a solo part on the tenor. So we had made up some cadences that whole spring, bro. Because we didn't know if y'all was going to be on the schedule next year or what, but we just knew we had to get better regardless.
Yeah.
But then when we see y'all on the schedule, we was actually that year, bro, shooting a documentary. They were shooting a documentary called Dog Days for the band. And that TSU game was the game that they was highlighting. Bro, I wish I had my DVD of it still. It's on YouTube though.
Yeah.
So they were shooting a documentary, bro, and the TSU game was like the climax of the whole documentary, bro. The last game, and then that was it for the show or whatever. So they staged another on the field battle, and this time it's in Jackson with TSU Funk Train and WT. Now, let me let you say what you got to say first, because I go say what you got to say, man.
Well, first off,
say what you got to say.
Okay, so when we seen y'all in 05, that was, well, let's backtrack. So PV is always usually our first game of the year. But in 2005, they rescheduled the game because of Katrina. And, you know, Katrina happened in New Orleans and they evacuated, you know, some of the people that was there, they evacuated them to Houston. So they canceled the game. They moved it to the end of the year. So we didn't see anybody until we saw y'all. So it was like the whole band, the drum, everybody was amped. Because like I said, y'all, you know, we was like, okay, y'all the first band that we see. So that game was intense from the word go. As soon as y'all marched in, we marched in, and in the stand, it was just back and forth. It was a dogfight the whole game. And I mean, like I say, again, this is my fourth year section leader. Well, it's my fourth year in the band. I'm my second year section leader. So I'm still on a, you know, it ain't nothing changed. Ain't nothing changed from last year. So, you know, we get in there and, you know, we just, you know, like I said, we just like, hey, when it's gonna go down. So, and this is, I think, so when we got ready to do the on-field battles, I'm like, okay, I remember we was on the field first. We got on the field first and y'all was coming down. And so I'm sitting there like, man, what can we play, to kind of fill up the time? Cause I'm like, it's gonna take y'all a minute to get down. So we run our cadence, and then y'all finally come down. Y'all run, I don't know which one y'all ran, but y'all was, it was an improvement. I ain't gonna lie, it was an improvement from last year. You know, I forgot, I don't know which, I think that same case you talking about, then I think that's where you go to like the middle part.
Yeah, E9 is where we ran first.
I was like, okay, you know, they got some stuff. They coming with some stuff, but I'm gonna be honest that we had some firepower. But y'all, I need you to say this on the camera. Why they cut the battle short.
Hey man,
$2 short, man. And I think we only did like 2 rounds. I think we only did like 2 rounds because they cut it short.
Nah, y'all only did 2 rounds.
But
we was still going, man. We was still going.
Like I said, this is where and that's what I say is y'all was playing something, and we getting ready to run. We getting ready to run one more. And I remember, I think it was either Prof Lee or Mr. D. They looked at me and they was like, "We gotta go," because something was happening on the field that was away from us. But Prof Lee is like, the minute something happened, his mindset is the safety of the kids or the band. I'm not gonna say kids, we all grown folks, but his mindset was the safety of the band. So whatever was happening on the other end of the field, Prof Lee was like, "Hey, we gotta go." So he come to me and he say, "Hey, let's go." So I'm thinking like, okay, that means play one more and we can go. He like, "Nah, let's go right now." I'm like, "Nah, we got to play one more." You know, he like, "Nope, let's go." So me and Kenny was right next to each other and we looking at each other like, man, how the hell we gonna do this without making it look like we didn't took an L? So we just like, man, you know, we had to tuck our tail and go get back in line. We had to go get back in line. And so when we went back in line, then y'all come run up and y'all bust a funk train in front of us. I was dying. That set me off. I about to, man. And it's on the clip. It's on the documentary. I'm walking back towards y'all like, I'll smoke every last one of y'all. But you know, it is what it is. You gotta take the good with the bad. So it's just like, okay, hey, you know, but I'm gonna be honest, we had some, cause my thing that year, that's when I made ITA. And then Kenny made his cadence, and his cadence was a motherfucker. His cadence was some shit in it. He had some shit in his. So we were setting y'all up because we was getting ready to pull it out, but it got cut short. So it's, you know, and I'm gonna do this. And you put this on the clip. Hey, and when we battled, there was no solos. We went cadence for cadence.
Right.
You know, this new style that they have is like solo, cadence, solo, cadence, solo. I don't get that. I don't get that. You can quote me on that. Percussion Connection. Y'all quote me on that. That's y'all killing the drum battle. It's a drum battle. Why? You know, and if you have to play, so incorporate it into the cadence. And my thing is, here's my approach on that. Here's my thought. You know, if you have to play a solo after you just played this cadence, what does that say about your cadence? Let your cadence do. And my thing is, a lot of the sections from what I see these drum battles, they be playing some good cadences, and they play that last note, and before they let the atmosphere dissipate, they already running the song. You just killed the vibe of what you just got through playing. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm from the back. You play that last note, boom, you lock up, back to attention. But now it's a new style where it's like, as soon as you play the last note, somebody counting off a call out. And my thing is, you immediately take the attention away from this cadence you just played. You know what I'm saying? It kind of reminds me. It reminds me of you. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna tell my age. Harlem Nights. You remember that scene when Arsenio Hall and his team, and they would shoot at Eddie Murphy, and they were shooting the guns, and then at the end of every time they shot, that one dude went.
Yeah.
So they be shooting. They be. You see what I'm saying? That's what I be hearing. That's what I get when I see guys run a solo immediately after a cadence. You just played this awesome cadence, you can bump, whatever your style is, you just played this awesome cadence and you hit that last note. And while instead of letting the sound dissipate, you know, y'all already tapping off a solo. So you've diminished what you just played. You know what I'm saying? Or at least incorporate it in the cadence or something, or you know what I'm saying? Or at least use it as a transition. But and my thing is, we as HBCUs, we're killing the drum line. We're killing the drum line battle to where it's not beneficial to the audience. Like you said, when we battled y'all in Shreveport, we battled y'all in 05 in Jackson, it's the audience is watching it. You see what I'm saying? And so, and with the help of the movie Drumline, what Drumline did was it gave the average person an idea of what's going on the field when they see the two drum lines line up in front of each other. So my thing about that is, so now when you have these drum lines, or when we finally get together, and you know, whoever this college versus this college, and y'all are going at it, let's make it, or let's organize it to where, you know, we can enjoy it as drummers and the audience can enjoy it. Because once we start playing over each other and solos coming here and solos coming there and all like that, it gets chaotic. So now people don't care for it. You know what I'm saying? We have to make it an organized, because part of it too, the high schoolers are doing it. You know what I'm saying?
That's probably where it started, man. It probably started at the high school level, and then, you know, I see colleges doing it now. But now we played solos, but after our cadence was finished, that was it. You know, yeah. we didn't backdoor with a snare solo or a tenor solo, or so I'm really not sure when that started, to be honest.
I mean, and I get the idea of, you know, hey, we finna, you know, we gonna run this. I get it, but when you're talking about a drum battle, and you know, you want, okay, hey, you know, think of it, the whole section, you know, WT versus Funk Train, not WT tenors versus TSU tenors, then Funk Train, then WT, then WT snares. No, make it. Now, if y'all got it, now, like I said, y'all had a cadence where y'all was running solos inside the cadence. That's perfectly fine, because it's part of the whole piece. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the whole cadence. But once y'all finished, boom, that was the staple. Now show me what you got. You know what I'm saying? Now it's an abundance of solos throughout the whole battle, to where it's just like, okay, are y'all gonna get to a cadence? Are y'all gonna get to a cadence at some point? So my thing is, and half the time when I look at some of these battles, I look and I click on it and like, okay, it's a 10-minute battle. So I'm thinking, okay, these boys going at it. It's like 7 minutes worth of solos and 3 minutes worth of cadences. I'm like, and then half of them they playing over each other. So it's like, let's make it organized so when we go to these battle of the bands and stuff like that, they'll create a segment for us to do that. But when they see us just playing over each other, this person doing this, they see it's not structured, it's not organized, it's not important to them. You know what I'm saying? These battle of the bands is about, they trying to make money. They trying to sell something. They trying to market something. They're not trying to market no chaos.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because that brings me to another point. So as we stated earlier, both of us were a part of modernizing the material at our respective schools. And when you are part of a process like that, of course you bring in more challenging material, but most of the challenge comes on the snare drum. You know, now we want to chop now. You know, that's what it's about. How do you think, because now everybody's chopping, like with the internet, you know, you can YouTube anything. You can YouTube a video on how to play whatever you want. So it's like everybody's chopping now. It's not like it was back in the early 2000s where schools had to play catch up. But with that level of chopping that's going on now, how do you think that affects the overall composition of the cadences that you hear now?
As far, like I said, yes, you absolutely right. Everybody's pretty much chopping now, because you can go on YouTube, learn the rudiment. You can FaceTime somebody and learn. But now what it comes, like you said, it's the structure, how you write the cadence. So a lot of times you got to think musical with it. You know, you got to be musical with it. If all you're doing is playing from point A all the way to point Z, you didn't do anything. You just chopped all day. You know, so it's my thing is, and one thing that I credit, being that I played snare, played quints, played tenor, played basses. I know how to voice everything. And one thing that helped me do that with some of my cadences was, I was a music major, so I was learning theory. So I was learning, you know, structure, form and analysis, counterpoint. You know, I'm learning how different voices, how, you know, and so with that kind of helped me orchestrate the cadence. So yeah, you might have this one little lick, but I'm like, okay, well, hey, what's going on behind it? Or do I want to isolate this particular section to let it be heard or whatever? So those are things. I mean, but you know, like I say, if it's everybody playing on top of each other, tenors, basses, quints, cymbals, everybody's playing on top of each other, it just sounds like a bunch of noise. You know,
I think that the chopping has helped to bring the skill level up, but I think in a lot of ways it has harmed the musicianship.
right?
A lot of these cadences nowadays that I hear from schools, they sound like a snare player wrote it. Like it sounds like a snare drummer came up with all of the parts, because it's focused on the snare drum, and there's a lot of clashing going on. There's a lot of clashing going on. And I think that it helps to be a well-rounded musician, like you mentioned, and not just within playing different instruments within the percussion section, but also being a part of other ensembles, like how you played the drum set. So, you know, you playing with actual horns and stuff like that. So you understand that nobody should clash with anybody.
Right.
Everybody needs room to speak, because music is a conversation. And what I see now, since everybody's chops are really high now, is the chops have got in the way of the musicianship. And it seems like everybody's trying to play the hardest root of it. Everybody's trying to wow another drummer or to impress another drummer, but they forgetting about the whole musical conversation. And like when you said earlier, who's gonna want to pay to see that? You know, when it's just a bunch of cluttered up stuff, all you hearing is a bunch of playing all this stuff that you really can't make out what it is anyways. When you got all of this going on behind you, and it's just, you know, structuring cadences, I think that needs to be a curriculum, or a part of the music curriculum, especially if you're a percussion major. Because a lot of the stuff that I hear now, I can tell that this person that created this cadence, they didn't have any guidance from someone with musical experience that understands voicing and phrasing, and how to figure out what goes with which, and how not to have your cadence sound distorted. I think that needs to be a part of it. And I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I've never heard of any class at any university where percussion majors are taught how to write cadences, or even parts to songs, but how to write cadences for the marching percussion section. That should be a class, bro.
Yeah.
That should be a class, like, especially if you're a percussion major. Like, it's no guidance. It sounds like the young students are very eager, and they can play, they can chop. But when it comes to writing a cadence, just how you need to be groomed as an arranger for band, to where you know what key signature fits well with the ensemble, the way you know what rhythms they can play. It also needs to be like that with percussion, man, because it you know, or otherwise you're gonna have a lot of the distortion that's going on.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mean, and like I say, that just comes from, uh, like I say, it's really, like I tell you, you got to listen. For me, I listen to anything. I listen to all type of music, and I listen for, like you said, I listen to what's going on. Um, I know a lot of people. We praise DCI. We praise, the Blue Devils, the Blue Coats, Santa Clara. We praise them. The Mass. We praise them, but we don't listen to what they're doing. We like what they're doing, but we're not listening. Okay, why do we like it? Why do we recognize what it is? Like, you might listen to them, and you'll hear how they'll take something, and it just moves throughout the section. So, and like I say, and that's orchestration. That's knowing how to orchestrate what it is and highlight certain parts of it. So my thing is, like, when guys write cadences, step back and just kind of listen to it. Like, do you hear? Is it at a 10? The entire cadence, is the whole cadence at a 10? If it is, that means you need to do some tweaking to it. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of just change some of it up. I mean, not saying that you're taking nothing away. That's not going to diminish the cadence. But when you open it up and kind of give it some, like you say, kind of open up some of those parts, now you kind of give a better sense of what's going on, especially when you're trying to, like I say, again, drums is about listening. Music is all about creating sounds. But if, like you said, if you have too many sounds going on at the same time, you don't know what's going on. But when you say, okay, hey, we're gonna lay this out. Okay, we're gonna play this, and then after that, y'all gonna come in right behind it. So yeah, I agree with it. Needs to be some type of class to where you kind of, like I say, or a composition. But that just comes from. But like I say, that comes from reading. Like for me, that just comes from reading, because I read charts. I read, looking at different parts of, for instance, one of my favorite concert band pieces is Incantation and Dance, and it has like damn it 1,000,000 parts in it, but every part is in and out. You know what I'm saying? It's not, all the parts don't move at the same time. It gets to a point where all the parts are moving at the same time, but they're not playing on top of each other. So you get a sense of, so you can still hear all those different instruments and those different voices. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we have to, as drum instructors or people that's writing, you got to think about the voicing of what you want to be done. You know what I'm saying? Okay, is it shifting over to the quints? Is it shifting over to the tenors and the bass? I mean, it is, and I'm all for it. Like I say, I write cadences. Sometimes I might write a cadence, and I want the tenor drum to shine. I want the tenor drum to shine. Or I might write something. I say, you know what? I want the bass drum to shine. Or you know what? I want the quints to go off on this part. And so when you look at that, then kind of, again, you have to take time and orchestrate. That's really what it is orchestrating. So I mean, I guess orchestration for marching percussion, if they're gonna call the class, and where you can take, a cadence that you wrote and then just, okay, do this and show you how to kind of tweak it a little bit, and that, and that's what you pretty much have, But I mean, it's like I said, you got to be open to it. A lot, a lot of times folks be, like, oh, I'm gonna write it the way I want to write it. Okay, but it sounds jumbled, it sounds muddy, what I mean? So my thing is, there's very few lines that, that still have that down to a science. They have that musicality in their cadences down to a science, to where every time you hear them, you can hear all the parts that's going on, and it's,
Norfolk, man, $1 Million Funk Squad, man. Hey, bro, they stuff, man. Nothing is clashing ever. Bro, like that. But see, they also have a different instrumentation than a lot of other schools. They don't have they got their tonal basses, so that first bass all the way down to the last one, but they're not gonna have no upright tenors with that, all that going on. And they tuning is in a way to where like no tones are clashing. They definitely have it down to a science. And if I'm not mistaken, they do a lot of writing as far as their cases are concerned. So maybe they have that viewpoint to see, okay, well, if I'm looking at it on paper, I can see with my eyes that this would clash. Even before I hear it.
Right.
I can see that it would clash. And so it doesn't. So, I mean, that's one school I can think of off the top of my head to where they got that cadence creation down to a science. But you know what? A lot of the traditional cadences from all of the schools had that down to a science.
Right, right.
Like the old stuff that we play in WT, man, that's scientific, man. I mean, nothing is clashing at all. I think that when the skill level started to get better, specifically on snare drum, people wanted to showcase their new chops. But to the point to where now the other instruments in the section are suffering for that, and the cadences as a whole are suffering and sounding cluttered because you want to show off your new snare chop.
Everybody's writing to put the best stuff in this one case versus spreading it out over 2-3 cadences.
Right, and so, but sometimes the best cadence can have the most simple parts in it. You know, it all depends on how you structure. And then sometimes you can put a complex snare part at the beginning and then kind of chill out. Like you say, the whole thing don't have to be on 10 for every drum in the section the whole time. Like that's just a lot of distortion, man. And that's something that, like I said earlier, man, I really wish that composition for marching percussion would be some type of class, bro. Like for real. Yeah. But since we're talking about chops, what are some of the things that you see today in today's drum world that you like, and maybe something that you don't like? Because of course we in the information age, the digital age, so there's a lot of stuff that's available to these kids now that we didn't have. We did not have. They have many more resources. So what is your outlook on percussion today? Because you teach middle schoolers, you've taught at pretty much every level. So what's your take on the state of marching percussion today?
As far as like some of the stuff that, you know, the combinations, like what I see now is a lot of combinations, and basically it's cool. It's cool, you know, like I said, they'll take something and then they'll develop it and put a whole bunch of variations. And then by the time they develop it like 3, 4, 5 times, and then by the time they get to that 5th one, it's a whole blah, 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 blah. And it's cool, but it's just like my thing is, again, like back to what I'm saying. How can we use that if you're gonna make it up, let's use it. But if it's so, like I say, it's so on top of each other, is, you know, how can I put a bass part behind? Blah, 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 boom, blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. So I mean, I like it for as far as, you know, testing your hands and kind of keeping your hands loose. But I mean, it is, you know, it should serve a purpose. You know, like I say, this, you know, even with, you know, even the stuff I used to make up, is like, I would make up something, but I would try to find a way, how can I use this? You know? And so like, even when I used to write cadences, it was like, if I made up a lick or something like that, I'm like, okay, how can I plug this in and make it musical to where I can get all 10 of my fellow snare drummers to play it with me, you know? And so but like I said, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's cool for what they're doing and stuff like that. But it's just like, okay, you know, in college it's all about the line. You know, get everybody to play it, you know, and you know, and it's you know, everybody. I remember it's like now everybody's doing the buzzing and the mouse and stuff like that. It's cool. It's cool. I mean, it's, you know, but it's a lot of overkill for my taste. It's a lot of overkill, you know. And then I remember a couple of years prior to that, I remember gridding. Everybody used to grid everything. Like when gridding came out, everybody was grid this, grid. That's all you saw, you know. And so now it's the buzzing and the mouse and all like that. So it's just like, okay, all right, you know, if that's the new wave, then, you know, okay, that's cool. But like I say, I don't, you know, it's, again, how do you make it musical to fit with what's going on, you know? But
yeah,
simply, like I say, it's just we gotta find the art of, if that's what you're gonna put. Like I say, if you're gonna put that stuff in there, okay, find a way to make sure that it can be heard. You know what I'm saying? So if that's like, so if you're playing a cadence and you know you got this section, you got these mouths in there or something like that, okay, the bottom got to drop out. You know, okay, cool. Make it useful, you know, but just putting it in there just to be putting it in there, like you say, you're forcing it. You're forcing that part in there, and that's where it's like it don't fit. When I listen to some of these, I'm like, it don't fit. I see what they're trying to do, but it doesn't fit because you're forcing it in there. Like, I gotta put these mouths in there. I gotta put these buzzes and diddles on the left. I gotta put that in there. It don't fit. You know what I'm saying? It just don't fit. Especially if you're gonna have a bottom. If you got tenor basses and some quints and some cymbals, you know, doing all that stuff on top of it, it ain't gonna be heard. It's not gonna be heard. So, you know, and like you said, that's what it was back in the day, back in, you know, in the heyday, in the oldies, you know, it was what can be heard from across the field. So yeah, you playing a mouth or you're playing a buzz or whatever, but from 50 yards away, I can't tell you y'all was playing buzzes, you know. So my thing is make it useful. Now if you drop the bottom out and then y'all, okay, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? But if you, I didn't hear what you just played. You know, now you're trying to tell me, man, we were playing mouse, we were playing buzzes over there. From 50 yards away, I couldn't tell.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, that's what you have to, and you know, when you write cadences, you got to think, okay, this has to travel 50 yards, because like I say, is you know, when you get to the game, or you know, you get to the game, you got to play that cadence, and what you play has to be heard and be understood from 50 yards away, because you may not get that face-to-face battle. You know what I'm saying? You may not get that. You know what I'm saying? So like I say, that's what I'm like. So if you're trying to put all this, I'm like, I don't know what y'all played. You know what I'm saying? Man, we were playing them backwards, diddle leg fives against y'all. I didn't hear it. I just saw your hands doing this. Man, that's the backwards diddle leg fives. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's just clarity. It's all about clarity. You know, and like I say, and this is I mean, some of the lines get, you know, understand it, but it's like, you know, I always catch a line or a couple of, or maybe even that same section where they play something like it's jumbled. Well, you should have left that out. You should have, you know, I tell people, put some water on it, water it down a little bit to get the idea of what's going on. You know, because like I say, because like I said, when you get to the game, you're only going to play it one time. You're only going to play it one time. I'm only going to hear it one time. So when you go on those away trips, you know, you go from TSU, you drive it. Now I go to Southern, and I got a cadence I'm finna play at Southern. I'm only going to play that cadence one time. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, okay, well, hey, you know, you get back to the bus like, hey man, y'all hear that cadence? They're like, nah, we didn't hear it because 50 yards away. You know, and that's the same thing. Like I say with the chops that these guys are playing. 50 yards away, it ain't gonna matter. So 50 yards. I mean, I used to sit dudes down from across the field.
Yeah,
I would sit a dude down. Like, I mean, I'd battle from across the field, but and guaranteeing what I would play, you could hear it. So, you know what I'm saying? So if I was digging into you, you heard what I was playing. You know what I'm saying? Now, if we get face to face and, you know, we hotel room battle and then be right here on the pad, okay, cool, let's go. Okay, cool. Now you can get into those little intricacies. But, you know.
Yeah, bro. This is a valuable discussion, man, that I wish more drummers would have. I wish more drummers would have, and this is marching percussionists I'm talking about, but I wish more marching percussionists would have the mind of a musician. And some of them do, but I wish more would, so that we could, as we push the complexity to a higher level as far as what we can play, I think we need to push the awareness forward as to what we should play and what should go on the drums and what should not go on the drums at certain times. Because a lot of stuff that I hear, and I pay attention, man, and I don't comment on a lot of stuff, but I see a lot of videos that's being posted, colleges, high school, like you said earlier. Now, see, a lot of that stuff is either starting at the high school level and then now coming to college, or some of these colleges are just setting a bad example. But it's probably starting at the high school level, and there's no guidance when they get to college from somebody who can say, hey, look, man, you know, less is more. You don't really have to put all of that in there to have a groove or to have a pocket on your cage. You could just sprinkle this in here and there, and that make it much more of a sweeter taste as far as music is concerned. But I just wish that more marching percussionists would have the mindset of a musician, just like how these horn players have to be cognizant of what is too loud, what's not too loud, what's, you know, we have to translate that to drums, because we're musicians too. So that's just something that I want to see more of in the future. And, you know, and not singling out any one particular line, because I watch all kind of lines, man. And I see the prevailing thing today is to show how much or how many rudiments you can play, how many complex rudiments you can play, you know, and that's on all drums. Like, so it's, you know.
I'm gonna piggyback on that. My first year as section leader, and I almost made that same mistake. Because like I said, when I took over, I was gun ho. Like I'm trying to get everything running and choppy and everything. And I remember I was putting a lot of stuff in the case. I was putting a lot of stuff, and I was even tweaking some traditional TSU cases. I was kind of tweaking a little bit of, and I remember, you know, the drum instructor at the time, again, and Garnett Foster, he kind of pulled me to the side. He was like, I like what you're doing, but it's too much. You know what I'm saying? And he had to kind of like, nah, man, that's a little too much for what's going, you know, like you said, again, everything don't have to be at a 10. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta have, you know, yeah, you got those cases that's hidden, but then you gotta also have them cases that's laid back, and you're bumping. You know what I'm saying? Like that's new term now, you know, for saying groove. Instead of saying groove, they say bumping, you know. So, and that's something I had to kind of come in and understand, you know, especially on a collegiate level, because like I said, everybody back in, you know, was traditional. Everybody had those traditional cases, and it wasn't choppy. A lot of stuff wasn't choppy back then. It was just you play. I mean, you might have a flam accent here and there, but it just wasn't nothing super outlandish like it is now. And that's what it was. And so my thing is, you know, what I like about, particularly with, I'm gonna speak on the cadence book for Texas Southern, is that our book, you can hear the progression from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s and on up. You can hear on, because it's like once you hear a cadence, you can tell, okay, that's a cadence from the 80s, because I mean, look at what it is. And a lot of times I tell people that, a lot of people like, man, they wasn't chopping back in the 80s. I say, because that wasn't the style, that wasn't the thing back then. Back then it was, it was funk. It was, just, boom, that's what it was. It was funk back then. So around, like I said, so now coming closer to the 90s and the 2000s, now you get a little bit more of, a rudimental. Everybody's starting to become a little bit more rudimental conscious with what they're playing. So now you start to see an influx of, boom, boom. Now you're starting to see a little bit of that coming out. You know what I'm saying? And so, but it's still musical, but it's just, you got the rudiments with it. So my thing is, like I said, I almost make that mistake of just making everything just super choppy and just everything just, but you gotta go back to be musical at all the time. I mean, it's just like if you listen to, just say like your taste in music, you may not listen to rap all the time. I might listen to rap on this day, but then the next day I might want to listen to some R&B, or the next day, I might want to listen to some reggae, or I want to hear. I want to listen to some straight ahead jazz. Give me some old school jazz. So my thing is flavors. It's flavors, and that's what with these drum lines, is demonstrating your versatility. You know what I'm saying? Be versatile. Give me something soft now. Give me something that's a little bit more beefy with it and stuff like that. Be versatile with it. But if everything is just at a 10, it's like, okay. Everything was loud. I get it. And the same thing, like, particularly like, even with bands, we always talk about, man, all they did was play loud. Okay, give me some versatility, dynamics, give me some, everything don't have to be, fortissimo,
Yeah.
be versatile. So it's just basically being understanding and just taking a step back. Just take a step back and just say, you know what, and I've done that to where I've had cases where I just say, you know what, I'm gonna lay back on this cadence and just keep it simple or whatever, but because I'm playing more to the ear, I wanted to sound, more, you playing to the ear, you know what I'm saying? So it's just that you got to be musical with it, make music with it. Right. And I think those are the cadences that stick out for the most part.
Yeah. I agree. And that's something that me and my craft brothers were always mindful of when we started to create the newer cadences for WT. Because we were musicians in other areas of our lives as well, other instruments, keys, bass guitar, and all of that, drum set, of course. Mm-hmm. But we was always thinking musical. Mm-hmm. And I think that that always helps when you have another reference point,
right?
To go and pull from, as opposed to only being a snare drummer, or only being a tenor drummer, or only ever marching in the marching band, and you've done nothing there. You didn't sing in the choir. You didn't, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got no other musical reference point other than marching band percussion. Oh man, that's not a well-rounded musician, Mm-hmm. I overall though, one of the things I can appreciate about HBCU percussion is that the interest is still there, and is the skill level is steadily growing. It's a lot of stuff, man. Some of these videos I'll be watching, man. These boys chopping, man. In WT, bro, like these young boys, man, like to see the growth from when I first got there to what it is now, like the skill level, oh man, it's through the roof, man. It's through the roof. and I be watching some of them videos, man. Like, man, I wouldn't even want to. I don't even want to try it, man. I ain't got time to learn that stuff now. And it's so it is at TSU. What do you think about the young funk train members now?
Yeah, they doing their thing. You know, like I said, they, you know, I stay in the circle. You know, like I said, I go up there and I keep in, you know, close contact with a lot of the guys that's still marching, you know, and just and lend, you know, and now they call me, you know, the OG. I'm like, I'm just like, all right. But you know, I mean, they come and they ask questions, and I'll kind of give them a little bit of explanation on the things that I know or basic. Because like I said, I feel like I came right at that middle point of the old and the new, and so, you know, I kind of give them, you know, an explanation on a few things, and just kind of just say, hey, you know, try this, or hey, it kind of goes like this a little bit, and they pretty good about it. I mean, they head in the right direction, and like I say, I always mess with them, you know, because like I say, I'm very well now, since like I said, since now I'm, you know, I teach middle school, and you know, teaching the school, you know, I'm very fundamental. So like when I always come to them on a fundamental sense of just, you know, just kind of making sure everybody got these basic fundamentals together, and just understanding, like, you know, hey, these are the things, these are the building blocks that's going to help you go a whole lot further, especially with the freshmen that come in. When I come in, I always tell them, like, look, hey, learn X, Y, Z, stay on this, and you'll pretty much go down the line, you know. Of course, you know, if they ain't doing right, I'm gonna get on their tail about it. I'm gonna let them know, you know, hey, y'all not, that ain't it, you know. But out of respect, you know, they listen, and they you know, they make the changes where it's needed for the most part. But they doing pretty good. I like what they got going and stuff like that. It's just like I said, I know COVID messed a lot of stuff up for a lot of programs. So everybody's still coming back, you know, still everything's, you know, still, you know, once all this stuff kind of blows over, everything, hopefully everything will be back rolling full and stuff like that. But definitely, you know, I'm liking what I see. Like I say, one thing I can say, the biggest surprise of the year is Grambling. Grambling was a big surprise this year. You know, I like what they're doing. You know, they're making an improvement and stuff like that. So they're coming through their season. Their season is coming in, and so they wreaking havoc a little bit. So, you know, it's like I say, be on the lookout for Grambling. I mean, they getting there. They getting that aggressiveness too. So I mean, but definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited for next season, bro. Like, next SWAC season, 2022 is. I'm anticipating this is about to be the most exciting season, football and band-wise. Because now that the football expectations are at a 10, you know, with all of the new recruits we got coming throughout the SWAC. I mean, you know, we got Coach Prime doing his thing. I mean, bro, he done just reignited the whole interest of it all. And like, that's only gonna matriculate, well, not matriculate, that's only gonna trickle down to the bands.
Yeah.
That same enthusiasm that they have for football now is gonna make it even more for bands, because bands was what was keeping the SWAC alive anyways.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, bro. Well, look, man, I enjoyed this conversation. This was much needed, and we're gonna have to do this again. But if there was one last thing that you would like to leave with our audience, or that you would like to leave with young percussionists, what would that be?
It's basically, don't be afraid to learn new things. You know, it's a lot of times, you know, and like I say, if you're in high school, learn what you don't know. What I mean by that is, if, let's just say, for right now, you're in high school. Let's just say you don't know how to read. Learn how to read. You know, or if you, let's just say you do know how to, you know how to read snare. Okay, learn melodics. Learn, you know, get into concert. Come out your comfort zone and go into that, because that's going to, you're going to appreciate it. It's going to make you much more of a solid percussionist. It's learning those, like you say, like we talked about earlier, was, being in those, jazz, but learning drum set, being in marching band, concert band, all those things. Definitely learn how to read, because, it's a lot of stuff that, or a lot of ideas that I picked up from just reading solos. Just sitting down and just reading solos, and when you do that, it kind of opens some new ideas that that you can possibly develop. Like I say, nowadays these guys, now they can take something and they can tweak it into where it's just completely something totally different, and that's great. But also to be able to read that stuff, if somebody put it on a piece of paper and hand it to you, you know what I'm saying? So, we got to stop shunning ourselves away from the things that can potentially make us a better percussionist. So even if you don't know how to read, just take some time, learn how to read. It's really not hard. And if you can play it, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised on what you can develop from just basically sitting down and reading something, And we got to stop, as HBC, we got to stop selling ourselves short, by saying, "Oh, we don't need to know that. I can just teach it to you by ear." We stop selling ourselves short. We already see our counterparts emulating what we do already. But how do you think they're doing that? They're not learning by ear. They're reading it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You can take an arrangement from Jackson State and go give it to, give it to University of Mississippi. And I bet you they'll play it. And it ain't gonna sound as beefy as J State, but it's gonna be the exact same. They can play it though. You see what I'm saying? We sell ourselves, our culture, we sell ourselves short because we don't want to, go the full way with it. And then we want to get upset when our counterparts kind of slip in behind us and
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just read. I mean, like I said, that was one thing when I was in school, I did all city. I used to do all city band. I did it in elementary and I did it in high school. And, coming from the schools I was coming from Welch Middle School, and I was coming from Madison High School, and I was going in there against children from Johnston and, children from West Side High School, and, the shock that, a kid from Welch and a kid from Madison could come in there and read the stuff just as well as do and play it and execute it. It was like, oh, you're from what school? I'm from Welch. I'm from Madison. Yes. Oh, well, you read very well. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, why, you know what I'm saying? I mean, don't do that. Don't do that to ourselves, man. We our culture is highly imitated, but we're scared to go that extra mile to preserve it. Preserve it by, hey, look, this is what it is. Think about it like the drumline, the soundtrack to drumline, all those songs is in a they have it written out. They can buy it. So you hearing all these bands playing all the tracks from drumline. Why? How are they able to do that? Because they're reading it.
Yeah. That's great advice, bro. So let's not sell ourselves short. Let's take full advantage of our musicianship and the resources that we have available to us. And this was a great conversation, bro. Great conversation. I think that people who hear this, and especially people who understand our era and when we came up, they'll be able to relate to a lot of stuff that we've said today, especially some of the old stories, those war stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, I just want to say thank you for all that you do, man. Thank you for training me to be the player that I turned out to be, and because you are the only teacher I've really ever had outside of my section leader Willie at Jackson State. He helped to develop some of my skills as well coming in at Jackson State. But overall, as far as an ongoing mentorship, man, you the only one for me, man. I didn't have the luxury of getting trained by these folks from the box and all of that. I didn't do none of that. It was just Kevin Lee, bro. So, I just want to thank you, publicly for all that you provided me throughout the years, man, because it certainly has helped me. And it has not only helped me, but it has helped me to help others, because some of the same techniques that you've shown me, I've shown to my people in Jackson, some of the high school students in the local Jackson area, and a lot of the stuff that I was doing, stuff that you taught me, I see years down the line without me even teaching the next generation, it has somehow made it to a high school or a middle school or something like that. I'm like, oh man, who taught you that? You know what I'm saying? But it's something, that you very well have put in my mind to make me a better player, whether it be rudiments or whatever. So keep up the great work that you're doing with the young students, bro. I always tell you I admire how you keep it going, with the youth, training them up how they should go. And yeah, man, yeah. So Kevin Lee, ladies and gentlemen, this is who we got, a bona fide legend in the game, Funk Train, representing. He got his paraphernalia back there, y'all. He got a band hat back there, y'all. Y'all need to write him a fine for that, man. I don't know how he got that band hat, but
It's my hat from 2005, man. It's little
yeah,
souvenir.
They may be looking for that, man.
Stuff, man.
So, but I love you, bro. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.
Already.